Hello, good morning, the business of property. We are live in our amazing group with an even more amazing guest, Tony, the action man, Meredith, and the crowd goes, wow. It's like when you introduce the wrestlers into the ring, a bit like that. Yes.
Fair enough. Fantastic.
Hello.
Hey, you look incredibly relaxed to me, Cheryl. Where are you?
I am in the sunny Sunshine Coast in
Oh my God.
beautiful Mullaney,
You're
and
in the nice little singlet. I've got the business gear on. And where have you gone? You disappeared. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure where Cheryl's gone. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining. If you're all joining, here's Cheryl.
and I'm back again. I shall not touch any buttons that are flashing red.
Right.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Beautiful part of the world, Queensland is.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful day. So, but I'm very, very excited to have you here, Tony, and because obviously December, where people are starting to wind down, or it's the final hurrah, but we want to be talking about how to really start building and establishing strong intentions for the new year.
Yep.
And how to set up winning goals for 2023. And why are we doing it now? Because if we sort of wait till January, February, that's sort of a month or two into the new year.
2 months is gone. I agree. I agree. So now is as good a time as any. And I mean, the reality is, and I saw one of your posts that, you don't need to wait for a certain time frame to start anything, right? The best time to start is right now.
Yeah,
and
right
so,
now.
But for the purpose of this, it's absolutely use this, next few weeks to start to think about, start to formulate, start to build up the things that you want to accomplish for 2023. And so come January the 1st, once you've dusted yourself off after a good fun night on New Year's Eve, you can then hit the ground running and have an outstanding 2023.
Absolutely. So, Tony, I know we talk about goal setting throughout the year. You talk about goal setting throughout the year. Yeah. And I know that there is a winning formula that you do teach your students on how to really not just set goals for the sake of goals, or not set resolutions. And that was one of the things we said, like why resolutions are a bad idea. Talk to us a little bit about that. Like, why is there a certain formula that you need to follow to be able to hit?
Well, it's like anything, right? So anything in life, there is a process, there's a system to ensure success. Whether you want to go and grow sales, whether you want to go and secure a property, whether you want to go and formulate a great JV partnership, goals are something different. There is a formula for success, because the reality is that a lot of us don't have success when it comes to goals. So a lot of us will. I call it the January the 1st syndrome, where come January the 1st, we're going to set a whole lot of things that we want to go and do for ourselves. We want to climb mountains and get that new property and leave my job and all these things. And what typically happens by that third week in January is zoom, right? And we crash and burn. There's a whole range of reasons why we crash and burn. And the big one is that we're not following a formula for success. And so it's about really, first and foremost, understanding your why. Why? Why is it that you want to do that particular thing in the first place? Because whenever you're going to do something different, whenever you're going to accomplish a goal or work towards accomplishing a goal, it's not easy. It's not designed to be easy, right? The goal is designed to be stretching. The goal is designed to be challenging. It's designed to take you out of your comfort zone, but it's a good thing. Right? So you really need to understand why you want to go after that thing in the first place. But if you're not clear on your why, then what will happen is at the first sign of trouble, at the first sign of challenge, at the first obstacle that you encounter, it'll all become too hard. You'll throw your hands in the air and you'll head in a different direction. So it's about going, I'm deeply connected to this goal, and it really means something to me. It means something to me to keep going. The big word that I want to focus on is commitment. And I've got some slides, but I mean, the point is that there's commitment and there's interest. And in property, I get to meet a lot of people who are interested in property. But what they're interested in is they're interested in the outcome. They're interested in the bling bling, the nice house, the fancy car, the financial freedom, the easy day job. They're interested in all that stuff at the end of or not the end, but down the road a bit. What they're not interested in is this bit in the middle, right? And this bit in the middle is the ups, the downs, the trials, the tribulations, the good days, the crap days, etc. That's the bit where people come unstuck. And the reason they come unstuck is because they're fixated on the outcome. They're not fixated on the process. They're not fixated on the journey to help me get to where I want to get to. And it's about understanding, why is that journey important?
Yeah, and you know, and the reason why I really want to talk about this is I had someone, and we talk about why, and I know we stress about and we bring it up, and I do find a lot of people haven't quite established their why. Do you have a process as to how we get really connected to and really understanding our why? Because that's a big question, right? What is my why? You sort of go, I don't know. I want to earn more money, right? I want to be able to travel and you know, buy that big house. Like, is that enough of a why?
No, so those are external things, right? They are outcomes. So going on a holiday, going on, buying a big house, all those sorts of things, they're outcomes, right? So your why needs to be internal to you. So then in that case, it's what does that mean to you? Why is that important to you? Why is it important to have a big house? Why is it important to have a fancy car, right? So you really need to dig into the, ask yourself why, or the other question you can ask yourself is, for what purpose? If we just take it up a bit, your question was around, is there a framework to help us understand our why? There's a number of frameworks. The one that I choose to use and strongly recommend is a Japanese model called Ikigai, and it's spelled Ikigai, and it's Japanese for reason for being. What is your reason for being? What's the purpose for you, for your life, for this journey, for your property business, etc.? And so spend time understanding the model. Now, the model is a really simplistic model, and it's made up of 4 intersecting circles. And so the first circle is, what do you love? So what are the things that you love doing? The next circle then is, what are you good at? The next circle is, what does the world need? And the last circle is, what can you get paid for, or what can you commercialize? And the whole idea is that those 4 circles must intersect, and in that intersection point is your ikigai. It's not good enough just to have a couple of those circles. So, for example, if you have, what are you good at and what do you get paid for? Well, that's not ikigai, that's your job. Or if you have, what are you good at and what do you love doing, but you don't get paid for it, well, that's a passion. Right? And some of us have things that we're good at. It might be some sort of little hobby or whatever you tinker away doing, but you're not going to get paid for it. So it's about recognizing that you need to have those 4 intersecting circles, and in that point of intersection is your ikigai. Now, that process, Cheryl, can take an hour, it can take a day, it can take a week, it can take a year, it can take longer, right? And so it's not an
I
easy...
absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe that, because we don't ask ourselves that question. And apologies for that.
No. We don't ask that question. No, we don't ask that question enough. And so it's a case of, this is a great time. This is a great reminder to say, let's understand what it is what is your purpose, right? What is your reason for wanting to do this particular, property journey, create a property business, create a bigger property business, whatever it might be. What's your reason for wanting to do that?
Yeah. Actually, the guy that I was sitting next to on the plane, he had the little Ikigai book. So it's funny
Great.
that we're talking about, and I've got it too. I recall going through that process because I was a bit lost. I was quite lost for a while, and I went, I know I like this, I know I'm good at this and all that, but it was until I was introduced to the concept of Ikigai that I was able to sort of find out what that middle bit really was. And that's where, it's we don't do that, particularly if we're working in the corporate sector. We don't really ask that because that's what we're getting paid to do. Whereas our passion might be somewhere else. And excuse me, getting in the car. The passion might be somewhere else, and I think where a lot of people sort of struggle, going, well, I'm passionate about doing this, but how can I get paid to do it? How can I earn money from it?
Yeah, and that's the missing piece, right? So you can be passionate about a whole range of things. You can even be good at plenty of things, but if you're not going to get paid for it, well, then there's a problem, right? And so it's about recognizing I must have those 4 intersecting circles, otherwise it's not your ikigai. And so, and look, what I'd be more than happy to do for your your clients or your members here, Cheryl, I'm happy to, if they just write in the comments Ikigai, IKIGAI, what we'll do, my team will do, is we'll make sure that we give them a copy of our worksheet, and we'll give them a copy of the video where I explain it. So I'm more than happy to offer that to your your members here in this group.
Wonderful. Jet says, I love Ikigai. Yes, I think that's going to be a really good one, and we can I don't know, is it worth doing a session, Tony, on facilitating and helping people try to find their Ikigai?
Yeah, 100%.
Is this something that they've got to just
absolutely
do themselves?
Yeah, and as I said, it's a process that can take it could take an hour, it could take a day, it could take a week, a year. And so absolutely more than happy to do something to help people get started in this process, but also managing the expectations that we won't have it solved by the end of that session. Rather, it'll be a work in progress, and want to keep moving our way forward. Now, I'm not sure where Cheryl has disappeared to, so that's okay. What we might do is see if we can bring up the slides. So here we go. Let's bring up the slides, and let's see if we can get moving with these. So I'm just going to click through these slides. So for those who don't know who I am, it's a little bit about me, and this is not about me, but just a quick introduction. So I'm a business coach. I'm also a property coach, focused ultimately on goal achievement. I've got plenty of high-level corporate experience, and I've been coaching since 2018. So coming up to my 5-year anniversary with coaching, and certainly well-versed in a whole range of topics. There's a whole range of clients that I currently work with or have worked with, and that list is by no means exhaustive. On the property side of things, so there's a photo of Cheryl and I on the very first business of property back in about 2018. So that's me up in the little window. That's Cheryl when she had long hair. And she loves it when I bring this photo up, so that's probably why she's disappeared. So I've been involved in coaching people in property for many years. I'm involved in property myself, and so there's a whole range of things. There's my good buddy Luke Moroney. He and I do a weekly session on mindset. It's a free session on Facebook, so if you're interested, we've done 180 Sundays in a row, so 3.5 years in succession. So please dive in. I've written a number of books on different elements in property, and I coach some really great people in property, some really successful property entrepreneurs, property developers, but also people in the renovation space and co-living. So today's about goals, the power of setting goals. Look, in reality, when you aim at nothing, it's what you're going to get. So you need to have something that you're going to aim at. And Tony Robbins, world famous business coach and an entrepreneur, I call him the other Tony. I don't know if he calls me that, but nonetheless. And so he talks about setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. And so you want to start to think about what it is that you want from an invisible point of view, and then you want to start to work towards accomplishing that. There's a whole range of reasons why people don't achieve their goals, and the first one is, or the biggest one is, what I would describe as a lack of commitment. And I was just touching on it with Cheryl a moment ago, where it's a case of people are interested in achieving success in property, but they're not truly committed. They're not truly prepared to do what's required to be done. And so that's one of the biggest reasons. And so here you can see that interest is not enough. So the young lady on the left, she's interested in having a drink, whereas the young lady on the right, she is absolutely committed to getting a drink of water. And now ordinarily I would do these slides with animations, and I would reveal them at different times, but nonetheless, we're going to go with what we've got today. Here is another example of interest and commitment. So the lady on the left is dipping the toe in the pool. She's interested in having a swim. Whereas the guy on the right, there is no turning back from that position. He is committed to entering the water. And I wanted to make the point that it's about commitment versus interest. You need to be committed towards the goals that you've got for yourself. So there's a whole range of reasons why people don't achieve their goals. So I talked about commitment. Look, the goal is too big. So people want to do a really big goal. The goals are, it's important that goals are stretching. It's important that goals challenge you. But when a goal becomes too big, then all of a sudden it becomes a demotivator, and all of a sudden you throw your hands in the air and you say, well, I'm never going to get there, and you give up and you move on. So a goal is too big, too many goals. Right, so you want to do too many things. You've had an amazing New Year's and you're saying to yourself, I'm going to lose weight and secure that first property, leave my job, climb a mountain, on and on it goes. And you want to do too many things, And in reality, because you want to do so many things, you end up doing none of them, right, or very few of them. And Bill Gates talks about people will overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. And that means that everyone tries to compress all of their goals into a short period of time, as opposed to if we methodically space them out over a period of time, we'd have phenomenal success. Phenomenal success. You would look back and go, wow, I methodically placed those goals out. I chipped away. I was consistent and persistent, and I achieved great success for myself. But too many goals is a reason that people don't achieve their goals. Goals aren't specific, and we're going to talk about specificity in a moment. And it's one thing to say, I want to secure my first property, or I want to get my second deal, or whatever it is. But you need to have a whole lot more specificity than that, and we're going to work our way through a model that I use. Lack or poor planning, no or poor planning. So it's one thing to set a goal, but then if you don't have a plan, then how are you going to get there? It just becomes this goal that's off into the ether, and we don't have the steps to get there. And so when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so we need to get some planning happening. Fear of failure, fear of criticism from other people. These are the biggies. A fear of failure. I'm fixated on what it is that I don't want, which is failure. And so thoughts become things. When you think about all the fear, when you think about the negativity, when you think about failure, when you think about being criticized by other people, all of a sudden you're taking your thoughts off into the opposite direction. You don't want to be in that space. I get it. I have people work with me all the time who are in that space. We want to get you focusing on what it is that you want, not what you don't want, because you don't want to fail. You don't want to be criticized by other people. In regards to the fear of being criticized by other people, it is the biggie. It is the biggest fear that we have as humans. And the reason for that is our desire for connectedness. Right? Our desire as humans, we want to be connected. We want to be part of a friend circle, of a group, of a community. It's important. It's important to us as humans. So let's not resist that. However, it's that criticism that comes from people, and sometimes it's criticism that we receive, as in they've said something to us, they've written something to us, but quite often it's actually criticism that we think people are thinking. We think someone is thinking something poorly of us. We think that they're not happy with what we're doing, and that prevents us from taking action. So we've got to work our way through that. No accountability. This is why a lot of people will go and lose weight. They'll get a gym buddy, they'll get an accountability buddy, and it's important in this space, in the property business game as well, that you find yourself an accountability buddy that's going to hold you to account to help you out. Now, you can have friends do this if you'd like. You can have colleagues do this, or you can have paid professionals like someone like me do this. Either way, it's important to have that accountability. And a lack of belief and a lack of uncertainty. And if you don't believe that you can accomplish success for yourself in property, if you don't believe that you can achieve your goals, it's not going to happen. So it's important to recognize these are the reasons why people don't achieve their goals. So it all starts with clarifying your goal. And so for me, the process that I use with my clients is about starting with the end in mind. Now, we talked before about why, and I haven't got anything in the slides here on why, but why is incredibly important. But when it comes to goals specifically, it's about starting with the end in mind. What is it that you want to achieve? What is that thing that you've got for yourself? Now, the whole reason you want to start with the end in mind is because you want to really stretch yourself and really tap into your desires. What does your heart truly want? And so in this instance, it's a case of, well, ask yourself, by December 23, so in 12 months from now, what do you want your business to look like? Your property business, what do you want it to look like? How many deals do you want to have accomplished? How many properties do you want to be holding? What sort of value do you want within your property business? How much profit do you want to have made? Right, but also your life. So your property business is one element of your life. And I'm going to talk about some life goals in a moment. But what does your life look like? What are the things that you want to be accomplishing? Cheryl is currently sunning herself somewhere on the Sunshine Coast, right? So perhaps for her, there was a goal to, go on a Sunshine Coast holiday, right? But what do you want your life to look like? And I call this life or business by design. And what that means is I truly believe that you can create whatever life, whatever business it is that you want. What business, what life do you want to create for yourself, right? And you're limited by your own thoughts. That's the only place that limits exist, is in your head. And so it's a case of going, right, well, what is it that you want your property business to look like? Blue sky thinking means remove all the limits, go wild with your thoughts, and really challenge yourself and go, what is it that I truly want? And again, I touched on it before. What does your heart truly desire. And then the last point I want to make there is get it down, then get it right. So get it down is just get the idea out of your head. So it starts with a thought, get it down on paper, and then get it right. Don't worry about crafting it perfectly. We just want to get the idea down, and then we'll build on that from there. And the whole idea of the 7 Habits book on the screen there is that that's where I got this concept from. So Stephen Covey wrote this book. It's a well-known book globally. It's an incredibly popular business book, life book, and it helps identify what are those 7 key habits that effective people adopt on a consistent basis. And the big one is around beginning with the end in mind, having a vision of what it is that you want. There are 5 key goal elements that I teach my clients, and they're on the screen there. So you can see that it spells out the word SPACE. So it's always nice to have an acronym that is easy to remember. But SPACE stands for setting, so goal setting, planning, goal planning, action. We must take action. You can have amazing goals and you can have amazing plans, but you must at some stage put your left foot in front of your right. Celebration. I've just noticed it's spelled incorrectly, so that's okay. So celebration and evaluation. So celebration is reward every effort. I was doing a session with a group of property entrepreneurs recently, and we were talking about reward every effort. Reward every effort means where you're at in your property business, if you're struggling to make phone calls to agents, if you're struggling to send letters, if you're struggling to have, money partner conversations, reward those effort. If you're really finding it hard to go and do some property analysis, suburb analysis, reward yourself. Have a reward, do the task, and then reward the effort. It's important to set up that framework of task reward. What tends to happen in most situations is the framework is reward then no task. So the reward is, hey, I'm going to go and watch that Netflix show, and when it comes time to do the task, it's like, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. And I keep kicking that can further down the road, as opposed to, I'm going to do this task. This task is important. I'm going to send off an X number of letters or call X number of agents, whatever I might be doing, or do my analysis. And when I complete that, I'm going to have rewards. I'm going to celebrate my success. And then the E is around evaluate. And that is constantly evaluating what's working, what's not working, and then looping back. Do we need to make some adjustments, or are we on the right track? So SPACE is my acronym for the key goal elements. We have 8 life goal categories. Some educators will say there's a lot more. For me, I talk about the 8 top line areas, and so you can see them on the screen there. So business and career. So for a number of you, you may be in a job. You may be wanting to use property as a way to escape that job. You may be in a job wanting to get a promotion and then use your additional income to then spin off across on your property journey, whatever it might be. What are your goals around business? What are your goals around career? The next is around wealth and finances. So this talks about your wealth, your finances. Do you want to have X number of properties that you hold? Are you looking to achieve X amount of equity? Are you wanting to have passive income? Whatever it might be, you're wanting to set up a self-managed super fund. So on and on and on it goes. What are your goals in around that wealth and finances space? Next one is around health and wellness. Without your health, without your wellness, you got nothing, right? It doesn't matter. So it's important to look after yourself. As we get older, things start to break down, things start to not move the way that they once did, and it's important to look after yourself, both from a physicality point of view, but also from a nutrition point of view. Have you got the right amount of energy in your day? Fun and adventure. What are the things that you'd like to do? You don't want to just be one-dimensional and work. There's some fun, there's some adventure. As I mentioned, Cheryl is currently up on the Sunshine Coast having a great time, and so that could have been a goal for her and her family. But it's about fun and adventure. What are the things that you like to do? Do you want to go and do bungee jumping? Do you want to go and do trail running? Climb mountains? Whatever it might be. Fun and adventure is another area. Love and relationships, that's your people around you. What is it you want to do? What's some goals? Perhaps you want to go and have some date nights, some family nights, some movie nights with the family once a week, whatever it might be. What are your goals in that space? Social and friendships, they are your friends. They're your friends circle. That's your network. What are the things that you want to do? Do you want to get involved in property networking here as part of the business of property? Do you want to go and attend other networking groups? Whatever it might be, then that's another one. Spirituality and service. Again, it depends on what your faith is. But you want to do something around the faith space. If that's not who you are, then what about service? And do you want to give back? Do you want to pay it forward? Do you want to volunteer? Do you want to help the homeless, feed the homeless, whatever it might be? And last but not least, in no particular order, is growth and learning. What are the things that, from an education point of view, you want to do over the next 12 months to ensure that you grow, to ensure that you learn, to ensure that you improve? And so that could be around doing a course, reading a book, reading X number of books, signing up to a coach, for example. It could be around watching YouTube clips, being a part of the business of property, learning platform. On and on and on it goes. What are your goals? So from a setting point of view, goal setting, it's about, and the reason why there's a GPS there, it's about creating a level of specificity. And so the whole idea of the GPS is that when you go to a new destination, you don't just type in the suburb and hope that you'll arrive at the destination. You type in the street number, the street name, and the suburb, and guess what happens? You arrive at your destination. And so the same applies with our goals. We need to have an element of specificity, right? And that's where you can see on the screen there the acronym, which is SMART. Now, SMART is an acronym that's well known in a lot of business settings, and you can see it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timed. And so specific is around that specificity, right? Not just the suburb. What's the street number? What's the street name? What is the suburb? Measurable. Is it quantifiable? Can we measure the thing? Hey, I want to secure a property. How many properties? What's the value of the property? What's the location of the property? Right? Put some measures in there. Is it achievable? Right? Is it achievable? So again, we want our goals to be stretching. We want our goals to be challenging. We don't want them to be impossible. And because, like I said earlier, when your goal is too big, then it becomes impossible. It's a demotivator, and you'll throw your hands in the air and you will walk away and do something totally different. Is it relevant? Is it relevant to your purpose? We touched on purpose earlier. Is it relevant to a bigger goal? Perhaps your 12-month goal. Is it relevant to your 5-year goal, to your 10-year goal, to your life's purpose, right? So is there a synergy? Is there alignment with that? And lastly, T is for timed. When. You want to put down a date. When am I going to accomplish that particular goal by? What is the date? Okay, not 6 months from now, not 12 months from now, the specific date. So writing of SMART goals is an example here of what you can do from a SMART goal point of view. And this is just something that I came up with, and I've done many property seminars previously where I've taken people through this, but it's specific. So complete a cosmetic renovation project with a purchase price under 1.2 mil in those suburbs. So they happen to be some Sydney suburbs. So it's specific, right? I want to do a cosmetic reno. I want my budget under 1.2, and I want to be in those 3 suburbs. My measurable, well, there's my budget. My specific suburbs are detailed as above. I've got a 65K reno budget, and I want to achieve a 10% profit on cost. That is my measurability of this particular goal. Is it achievable? Well, I've been pre-approved for that amount of money, and I'm ready to take some action. I've got some renovation experience, and so look out, world, I'm coming through. Is it relevant? Is it aligned to my bigger goal, my purpose? In this case, my goal of providing financial security to my family. So it's a smaller goal within a bigger goal. Is it relevant to that? And then time, well, you can see there, come the 31st of December 2023 is the time frame that I've gone and set for this particular goal. So once we've gone and set a goal, it's then about planning. And so for me, it's about closing the gap from where you want to be and where you are today. In between is a gap. And so GAP is also doubles as an acronym for me, which stands for Goal Achievement Plan. This is not about setting goals. This is about achieving goals, achieving the goals that we set for ourselves, and we want to go and close that gap. And we do that by creating a goal achievement plan. So how do we do that? Well, we start with the end in mind. So go back to what I talked about way back earlier in this presentation from Stephen Covey's book. We start with the end in mind and we work our way backwards. And so the idea is the end in this situation is the 31st of December 23. So then we need to ask ourselves what tasks need to be completed, what milestones need to be achieved at certain milestones. So you can see there that we plan in reverse so we can take action in a forward direction. And so at certain milestones, so at the 9-month mark, right? What milestones needs to be achieved? What tasks need to be accomplished to ensure that I'm on track to achieve my 12-month goal? At the 6-month mark, what milestones, what tasks need to be achieved and accomplished to ensure that I'm on track for my 9-month, to then ensure that I'm on track for my 12-month goal. At 3 months, the same. 1 month, you can do 2 weeks if you'd like, 1 week, tomorrow and today. Like, bring it all the way back to where you are. But effectively, this is how we go and create an effective plan for ourselves to ensure that we achieve the goals that we've set for ourselves. So this is a great way of planning in reverse. Why do we plan in reverse? When we plan in a forward direction, our limits get in the way. Our thoughts get in the way. Our head gets in the way. I couldn't possibly do that. I've never done that thing before. Why would I be able to accomplish this? All these stories start to go off, and what happens then is you're unable to move forward. So you plan in reverse. You get so vividly clear on what it is that you want, and you work your way backwards from there. I've come to the end of my presentations. I kind of thought that I would be doing this with Cheryl for most of it, but nonetheless, here I am on my own, which is totally fine by me. But you can, so here's, if you want to follow me, I'm constantly all over social media. We do a whole range of things, different videos, different advice, different tips and tricks. So please reach out. There's a website there. And if you'd like to contact me, you can contact Alana at admin@TonyMeredithCoaching.com.au. And there's my last slide, which is that a goal without a plan is simply a wish. And so you do need to have a plan. You do need to get clear on what your goal is, but then also what are the steps that I'm going to take me towards where it is that I want to get to. So if we could just remove the slides now. How do I do that? I'll remove from stream. There we go. Perhaps Cheryl can rejoin me there. I did see her briefly a moment ago. Perhaps she can rejoin me. But that's effectively a really high level around goals, and it's a framework for the other thing that I would be more than happy to offer your clients or your members, Cheryl, is I've written a book on, we've republished a book on goal setting, goal planning. We wrote it a few years ago. We're modernising it, contemporising it. We're going to release that. So if people want to learn about I want the goals book, if you could write goals book in the comments, and what we'll do is my team will reach out to you and get you a copy of the goals book. Again, it's another gift from me to you to help you move forward. So it's 2 gifts. One is Ikigai, so write Ikigai in the comments, and the other is goals book. You write those in, and we'll get you a copy of those respective books.
Hi, Tony, and
you were going so well. I can see you. We can't hear you fluently, but we can see you.
Yeah, we're chopping in and out, but I want to say we'll put a link to the workbook that people can work through. I think one of the few things that you mentioned that were really important is around like taking this time to really set out those goals, but also it's not just about setting the goals, it's achieving the goals. And how do
that's the ultimate objective, Cheryl. It's about otherwise, what's the point? What's the point in setting goals if they just go back into the top drawer, never see the light of day? It's ultimately about goal achievement, and that's what my whole business is based on. It's about ensuring that my clients, or whether they be property clients, whether they be clients, ensuring that they achieve the goals that they've set for themselves. I help them create those goals. I help them create them in the most effective and efficient way. But ultimately, my clients need to take action towards achieving those goals. So that's ultimately where it's at. That's where then mindset, psychology, attitudes come into play, because plenty of people have well-written goals, they have a really comprehensive plan, they're still not taking action. So that to me then it sits in headspace. What's going on for that person? How do we get them to move forward? And that's a whole lot deeper. That session, that's days of sessions working through how we help those people move forward.
Yeah, and unless you're incredibly disciplined, which there's some people who really are, it's having that accountability, whether an accountability partner. And I actually find personally for me having a coach has been the best accountability, in that regard, because accountability partners, often you might find someone who's a friend and they're a little bit too kind to actually put you in place and pull you up when you really need to, when you're actually slacking off. So I know I've heard it quite a few times, Tony, that, you know, as a coach, you're not my friend as much as we are friends, but you're someone who I know who is going to pull me up when I'm not doing what I said I would do.
Yeah, well, I would say that I would argue that I'm being more of a friend to you because I don't want you to think that you're heading down a particular path if I can see it's the wrong path. Or I don't want
Yeah.
you to kid yourself that you're making progress, but then you're actually not making progress. So, you know, for me to not say something to you, that would be remiss of me, right? And so I would argue that I'm actually being more of a friend because I want you to have success. I want you to have success. I want you to achieve the things that you want for yourself personally, for your family, etc. It takes some effort. It takes some hard work. It's not going to be a straight line. It never is. But I'm there in your corner, high fiving you when you have the success, but also then helping guide you through, you know, the various challenges that will come up, because they will come up. You know, it's naive to think that things won't come
Yeah.
up. Things do come up, and they come up for all of us. You know, I'm a coach. I have my own coach, and you know, because things come up for me, and so it's about recognizing that things will come up, and how do I go and navigate my way through that.
Absolutely. And I dare say, you know, the goal setting part is probably the easier bit, because it's going, okay, I'm going to be doing this, but it's the journey. We talk about the journey and bridging the gap of, you're going to come up with things where that mindset stuff is going to kick in, like, well, I really want to achieve this, but you know, what's actually holding me back from stepping into my fear? What are the limiting beliefs? What are the limiting beliefs that are actually pulling me back from doing what I need to do? And you know, that's the part of the journey that you're referring to, Tony.
Oh, 100%. Well, I actually had a session with my coach this morning. So I speak to my coach every fortnight. I had a session with her this morning, and you know, we talked about some things that are going on for me. You know, and so it's about recognizing that we all have fears. You know, just because I'm a coach, just because I'm well versed in psychology and mindset, that doesn't mean that I don't have my own fears. I'm human as well, right? And so it's about how do I go and work my way through the various things that are coming up for me, and I have the skills to be able to help people move forward, right? So for the majority of people, they don't fully understand how they can move forward. And so that's where having someone like me enables
Yeah.
people to, through strategy, through a process, to get them to move forward. But that is the big one, Cheryl. You're exactly right. It is easy to set a goal.
Yeah.
It is easy to plan
Yeah.
a goal. It is incredibly challenging to put your left foot in every step of the way, every single day, and particularly when you're coming against obstacles, objections, adversity. When things are going well for you, everyone's a champion. But you probably don't need a coach when things are going incredibly well for you, because we're just cheering you on, right? We're waving our pom poms and we're so excited for you. It's when things are challenging, when things are difficult, that's when you need help. The other that I will say, when things are going well for you, is then what about going to the next level, right? So that's something else. It's about things are going well, but then you want to stay comfortable, or do you want to now step it up to the next notch? And that's where having a coach come on board will provide you with the guidance, support, you know, be a sounding board, challenge you to ensure that you create success.
Yeah. And Tony, we talked about blue sky goals. How do
Yep.
you how do you balance being realistic in setting specific goals, but still having these blue sky goals? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, there might be someone who's like, I'm going to have $1 billion. I'm going to have $1 billion in property projects, or whatever that might be. Let's just say that's a big blue sky goal for, I know someone that we both know has, that's their blue sky goal.
Cool,
And your
cool.
blue, you know, everyone's blue sky goal might be different.
Yep.
How do you go from someone who, say, for example, is just starting out
Well, you have to bridge the gap,
and they
right?
have this big blue sky goal, which
Yeah,
yes,
you have to bridge the gap, because otherwise it's too far off into the future. It's like, oh my god, it
yes,
sounds nice to out of my mouth, but you know what? It probably doesn't feel realistic. But whereas when you go, hang on a second, that's a goal. That's a big blue sky goal. Challenge yourself on why this is important to you. What's your heart saying? And the reason I sort of tap myself here is because what's your heart saying about that goal? Like, is it really important? Like, do you want to have this $1 billion property business
yeah,
because you want the lifestyle, the bling bling, and all that sort of stuff? That's fine if you do, but you want to understand why is that important to you. You need to really dig into why is that important.
yes,
Then you want to bridge the gap. So you work your way back, and all of a sudden, once you have this goal, start with end in mind, now you've got some steps along the way. You can actually see that, well, that is possible by doing this and then doing this and doing that, doing these things. I can actually see how I can now join the dots, or create that bridge between where I want to be and where I am today. This is still all theoretical and on paper at this stage, right? So then the next bit is you have to put that left foot in front of the right and start to work towards certain things. And that's where having those milestones with it, so it's goals within the goals within the goals. So you don't just have one goal, you have goals, and goals and goals and milestones and tasks and all these things that are there that are, different markers, right? So it's like, you're in a car traveling to a destination. What will happen is every now and then it'll say to you, you've got 20 kilometres to go to your destination, 10 kilometres to go to your destination, but you know you're on the track to the destination. You keep seeing it says Sunshine Coast, 20K, Sunshine Coast 10K. This is no different, right? We want to have those markers and those milestones that we know that we're on the right track. I'm not where I want to be yet, but by golly, I'm kicking off these big goals along the way. The other piece with all that, and I touched on it with my SPACE acronym, is celebrate. So celebrate is
yes,
two things. So REE, which is reward every effort. So reward every effort that you do. Reward the phone calls you make. Reward the letters that you send. Reward the money conversations that you have. Reward the analysis that you do. The other is the G, which is for gratitude. Be grateful. Be so eternally grateful. And again, I'm coming back to my heart. Be so eternally grateful for where you're at, for what you've accomplished, for the journey that you're on, for the life experiences that you're getting. Be grateful, even when you have mistakes, when you make mistakes. Be grateful for the lessons you're going to get. I know some people are going, "Oh, it sounds a bit stupid, it's a bit crazy." No, be grateful for that lesson, because that you may have made a small mistake. Be grateful you made a small mistake, but then means you don't want to make a big mistake, right? And so be grateful the whole time. And again, it's all mindset. It's all mindset around rewarding yourself, because as humans, we have the need for positive reinforcement. We want to be reinforced with things positive. That's just how we're wired. But the problem we have as humans is we tend to rely on other people to provide us that positive reinforcement. And what I say is no. Don't rely on things that are out of your control, because you'll be sorely disappointed. Rely on things that are within your control, and that is reward every effort. So the set yourself a task. If you've not spoken to any agents before, if you have a barrier around speaking to real estate agents, you set yourself a target. It might be today, I want to call one agent. And you set yourself a reward that's linked to that, and you pat yourself on the back. Tomorrow it might be two agents, and so on and so forth. If you've not sent any letters, go and do that. Go and start small and build into it. But it's about reward all those things.
And can you give some examples of rewards? Because I think we often think that rewards need to be a financial thing, and it's a big, it's a big party, or we're going on a holiday type thing.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, that's not practical always. So, what are some practical, easy little rewards that you can give yourself, where you sort of go, oh, it's actually, I am rewarding myself?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Well, it can get very expensive, right, with some of those rewards you were talking about. So, hey, I've called an agent, I'm going to go off on a holiday. No, it doesn't work that way. So it's a case of coming up with, so it might be that you go to your favourite coffee shop and you have a $4 coffee that's your favourite coffee shop. It's a real treat. Or if you might take yourself off to your favourite brew house and have a good beer, or you might just give yourself some time. It doesn't have to be buying something. It could be, I'm going to go and walk the dog go to the beach. I'm going to read a chapter in a book, watch another episode of my favourite Netflix show. All these things, right? It doesn't need to be overly expensive or it needs to be free. It's just a time on. Either way, it needs to be something that's linked into the task that you're doing. And the second part is that when you're having that reward, you think to yourself, I'm having this reward until I did that thing. I call that agent and I'm sitting here walking my dog on the beach and I'm basking in that moment. And I'm feeling really great and emotionally I'm feeling terrific because I'm out in the outside, I'm looking at the ocean, walking my dog, and I'm patting myself on the back going, yay me for making a call. Right now, again, some of you might be sitting here going, well, Tony, I can make calls, I do it all the time. Hey, that's cool. Wherever you're at, right? This is a self-awareness exercise. It's about going, well, if you're already making excellent calls, step it up. What's the next thing you can do? Do more letters. So again, depends on what phase of the property process you're at. If you're in the deal phoning phase, if you're in a project, if you're in the money partner phase, wherever you're at, come up with rewards that are proportionate to the goals that you need to accomplish, those steps and milestones. A lot of people in property, Cheryl, will have a reward at the end. It'll be like, well, when I secure my first deal, I'm going to take my reward. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that you've got 257 steps,
celebrating all the little rewards along the way. Yes.
In between, and we're not thinking about all these steps along the way. So guess what happens? We never get to the reward at the end of that project because it just is a mirage.
That's a really good point. And the reward can also be, we talk, tie it back to gratitude. Like if you've grown from someone who's gotten over your fear of ringing real estate agents, and now you can ring a real estate agent, 50 real estate agents a day and have a conversation. Like, recognize and be grateful for the journey that you've been on to be able to get to that point. Right?
100%.
That's incredible growth in that regard, and just to be able to get over those fears and challenges that you've held inside of you.
I agree. So that's gratitude. I say to people, only look back for 3 reasons. So look back to take the lesson, right? We all make mistakes. I make so many mistakes every day. Take the lesson you learn from, you move forward. Look back to enjoy happy times, happy moments, happy memories, milestones, etc. And the third is look back to see how far you've come, which is the point that you're making. See how far you've come. See how far you've grown. Oh my gosh, 2 months ago I couldn't even pick up the call and call an agent. Now, because I've chipped away, now I'm able to call 50 agents in a day, no problems, got great relationships, I've become a deal attraction magnet, I'm getting properties come to me left, right and centre. Oh my gosh, what an amazing journey I've had, what an amazing progress I've made. So you're 100% right, Cheryl. All this links back to mind hacks, mindset, attitude, psychology. It's your MAP, your MAP, mindset, attitude, psychology. That is where the largest part of business success lies. You have great goals, you have great plans, but if you haven't got the right mindset, the right attitude, the right psychology, it's not enabling you to take action, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love for anyone that's watching today, if you're inclined to do, first of all, make it a task in your goal setting for 2023 to work through the little workbook that Tony will be sharing with us. And I'd love for you to share your goals. And it's important to share them as well, because in a sense, we're helping you keep accountable. Again, if you don't already have a coach, reach out to Tony or someone else that you feel you resonate with. It's really important that you resonate with your coach. But I have found having coaches and mentors has been probably one of the single most impactful things in my personal and professional career, in actually achieving the things that I've set out to do. And Tony has been an absolute integral part of that. So I want to say again, Tony, I know I say thank you often, but I don't say it enough as well, because it really has been incredibly impactful on my life, which is one of the reasons why we're on the Sunshine Coast, because we and Tony may know, but I may not have mentioned it publicly, because we are looking to move up here. Yay! And so, yay! And that's why we're doing a little bit of a reconnaissance on locations, schools, and that sort of thing.
And that's,
But
I mean, that's amazing. So, firstly, congratulations. I didn't let on to that. I just sort of, I didn't let on to that. But good on you for sharing. And that just is an example of, don't be constrained by your limits. Like you live in Sydney, right? Your husband's job is in Sydney. Your kids are in school in Sydney. It's a big decision, right? It's a big decision
it's a
to
huge
go and
decision. Yeah,
uproot
yeah.
your family. You've also got, mum and your stepdad who live with you as well. So it's a big decision to uproot your family and go to a different state, go to different schools, all those sorts of things. But what you've gone and done is you've said, well, hang on a second. What do we truly want? Like, what does my heart truly desire? Where are we
Yeah.
going to be the happiest? Where are we going to feel most fulfilled? And the solution or the answer that you guys came up with was a Centron case, right? And so that's a great example where don't let the limits on the existing, don't let them hold you back. Get after the thing that you want. Get after whatever it is that your heart desires because you can truly achieve anything that you want.
Absolutely, and we applied, those sort of steps that you were talking about earlier in your presentation, Tony. But really just breaking it down, being really specific, but tapping into from the very beginning. So everything that you've spoken about is stuff that we've applied to this whole move around why we're doing this. Why, getting really deep as to what's important to us. It's it's the lifestyle factor, but it's the ability to have more adventures, more outdoor things with our children, and it's lifestyle, and we don't necessarily we don't need to wait till we're retired to have to build the lifestyle that we want. I mean, a lot of us go into business to be able to have the freedom and the lifestyle that we want, and that was our why. And then going, okay, what are the 20, 30 things we need to get to this point. What are the 20 or 30 things that we need to do to be able to tick each of them off to get closer to where we need to be?
Yeah.
And there's a big part of just stepping into trusting the process, trusting and believing that things pan out the way they do for a reason. That even if you sort of go, oh, I really want it to go this way, but for whatever reason it doesn't, to not be too hung up on that. Because I'm a big believer in this, the spiritual side of things, to be able to say, well, there's a reason for that, and one day you'll be able to look back and go, it happened for a reason. It happened for a good reason.
Oh, exactly. Well, it's about let it go. It's about letting things go. It's about trusting. It's about having faith, having belief that I'm on the right path. And even though you might feel like at times that you're in the middle of a storm, perhaps a cyclone, but it's about going, well, there is a lesson in here for me. There's something in here that the universe wants me to be in this spot, or God, whoever you people believe in, but I'm in this spot. There's something in here for me to take from this moment. You may not know what it is right at that point in time. It may feel dreadful, but you'll come out the other side. And Steve Jobs talks about it's only when you look back you can connect the dots, right? And that's the whole bit that I said before.
Yes.
You look to see how far you've come.
Yes.
You look to go back and see all the things. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday about the fact that in the start of 2014, I didn't get a promotion in my job, and it was a promotion that I thought I should have got. I didn't get it. I thought I was a shoe-in. Everyone around me told me I was a shoe-in, and it never happened. And I remember going home, and I was drinking back then, and I got stuck into it that night, and I carried on, stupidly and immaturely because I didn't get the job. But I look back now, and I think that was an absolute blessing in disguise, because had I got that promotion, I would have been further and further entrenched into that company. The golden handcuffs would have been tighter. I would have got more money. It would have been incredibly hard to do what I've been able to do. So that was actually a beautiful moment, a really pivotal moment for me. But at the time, it certainly didn't feel like it. It felt like this horrible moment where I couldn't believe it. I complained, I whinged, I blamed everyone that I could see, I think about. But it was such an amazing moment because it's enabled me then catapult into a totally different direction.
Absolutely. So I love those sorts of stories, but like you said, you know, in hindsight, you don't realize those are little blessings until you've got to where you are now. So whoever's joining us, and appreciate that. Whoever's watching the replay, again, Tony's got a workbook to work through, and share those goals. The more that you're able to put that out there, and the more that you're able to have people help you keep accountable, the more you're likely to actually reach those goals as well.
Absolutely.
And again, reach out to Tony if you need to. What's the best email to get through to you, Tony?
We've got so admin at tonymeredithcoaching.com.au, admin at tonymeredithcoaching.com.au. Get onto the website. We're all across social media, so just Google me up and you'll find plenty of stuff out there. And then please feel free to reach out. There we go. There's the email address. So thank you. It's amazing how this thing just pops up. You just want an email and it just pops up. It's phenomenal.
Automatically it happens. Excellent. Thank you, Jet, who is our tech support in the background.
Thank you.
So that about wraps up our session today, Tony, and I appreciate you. I said you grabbed onto the reins while we had technical issues, but I think we ran through a lot of the really critical. I'd say probably the technical parts of putting goals together, which if you apply it, and the more that you realize how critical they are in your personal and business success. We talk about the business of property. Any sort of business is around following some sort of system, and setting goals is a system, and actually achieving them is another system in itself. So I really appreciate your time. That's been fantastic, and as always, wonderful to have you here. We're going to be having you on here as a permanent fixture, Tony.
Yep,
so
good.
Stay tuned,
Happy
people, and get into those goals before all the Christmas parties take up all your brain and time capacity.
Good. Great idea. Very good. Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks for the opportunity. And thanks for those who've watched. Hey, have fun on the Sunshine Coast. Looks amazing where you are, by the way. I'm incredibly jealous, incredibly envious. Here I am, stuck in the office, working away, and look at you. You're out there soaking up the Queensland sun. Good on you.
We're networking, we're meeting people, we're getting a good sense of what's happening in the Sunshine Coast. There's an incredible energy in this space, particularly I would say in the business and property space. So if you haven't been up here, definitely make the trip up, and it's quite nice if you can do it in your thongs as well.
Sensational. I love it. Very good. Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks, everyone.
All right, take care, Tony. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.